Welcome to Hammer Time with the Guyanese Critic, and today we will be discussing issues relating to the minister's gasking statements at a business meeting recently in Berbice, and as it relates to oil in this country and what benefits Guyanese are going to get from oil. And we're also discussing today issues relating to the buildup of garbage in Georgetown, accountability with the mayor and city council, and if they are the people to do the job presently. So Minister Gaskin recently went to Berbice, Chambers of Commerce meeting in Berbice, and told business persons they're not to be fooled by the opposition because of their ramblings as it relates to opening up about oil and the contract, the oil contract that was signed by the previous administration. Let's go to what Minister Gaskin said. Guyana will earn oil revenue from oil on day one of production. That's one of his statements. The initial exploration license was issued in 2008 by then President of Guyana at the time and now opposition leader Bar Jagyo. His government would have issued the original license with the original agreement in which the confidentiality clause was inserted. Now, for him to ask for a disclosure from this government shows that he wants us to breach the agreement he put in place when he could have made the deal public when he was in power. So if he could have made the deal public, then this government could make the deal public. The question in this case is, if the previous administration was so corrupt as this administration, this government is claiming, why would you want to keep their secrets? Why wouldn't you want to have their secret as to their oppressive backdoor contract deals? Why do you want to keep those secrets, right? And the other question is, are these two administrations part of the same Masonic lodge? Are these lodge buddies keeping secrets for each other? This is becoming a worrying aspect of politics in this country. Nobody's opening up. This administration claimed they were coming to hold the previous administration accountable. So far, they have not been able to move forward very far on that. And that is why we need to take a better look at the oil deal. The people, the citizens of this country need to know, what is oil about? What are we getting for our resources? This is another snippet of Minister Gaskin's statement. Guyana has submitted in August its candidacy for Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, a global standard to provide an open, accountable management of extracted resources, which is demonstrating that the government of Guyana is moving towards greater transparency in the way that it manages its natural resources, and will ultimately benefit the Guyanese people, as they will now be able to hold the government more accountable for stewardship of the national platform. Isn't that a little bit more than we're asking for presently? All the people, the question is, all the persons are asking for, all of the Guyanese citizens are asking for presently, is to see the contract. Transparency, signing on, how it's going to be done, when it's going to be done, what's going to be done. All these things are okay and needed to ensure that the government keeps in track. But if we can't see the contract now, what's all this gonna, and people are seeing what has happened for 2 years. How can we trust that what you're saying is gonna come true, as we move on? Further, the minister disclosed to the packed audience of businessmen and women that ExxonMobil has launched a resource center in partnership with a local news provider, a local service provider, that is geared to provide assistance for small and medium-sized businesses to improve their competitiveness and increase capacity, and will also provide information on technical standards and procurement opportunities within the sector. So they're going to show the small and medium businesses how they are going to benefit. In the change campaign, there was nothing about ExxonMobil. Is ExxonMobil running this country? This government of this country has to show small and medium businesses how to be more competitive. The government of this country has to create a competitive environment for small businesses. These statements make no sense. It's obvious the Minister of Business is out of his league here. He lacks the understanding of what his ministry is about, his portfolio is about, and what is needed from him by the Guyanese citizens. I think he's out of his league here. As I continue, Guyanese businesses can now register their businesses online. This is a new thing, registering a business online. And this will allow big suppliers and contractors within the industry to find suitable local suppliers for their requirements. This is worrying. What big and suppliers and contractors are going to want from medium-sized businesses in this country? What is the Minister of Business talking about? Baroom bar services? I don't know what services he's talking about and products he's talking about. What is needed? The minister can list a few items that these suppliers and contractors are going to need, that small businesses could provide. But it is so vague, like everything else, like the promises we've gotten for the past 2 years. We're left wondering what's going to happen. So, contrary to what the Minister Gaskin is saying, some of the major contributors and players in the oil industry have different ideas as to what the projections are going to be for 2020. Credit Suisse recently, as recent as last year, said it has cut long-term oil price forecast by $5 to $57 in 2020. That's what they were expecting. It'll be about $57. So we wouldn't be getting anything much than we're presently getting. And the $74 billion that we will be getting on a yearly basis, or they're projected that we'd be getting, is at $80. So we'll not be getting, obviously, if we don't reach $80, we'll not be getting $74 billion. There are a number of different, OPEC has, this is OPEC's opinion, after the 9-month extension of the OPEC deal, there is a growing consensus that oil might bounce around in the 50 and 60 for the rest of the year. But as we move into 2018 and beyond, there's a great deal of disagreement among analysts about what happens to oil prices. So these kind of projections that the minister is making, I think he should hold back on, in light of the fact that they made projections of creating jobs and a number of different things they have done that they have not been able to do as yet. I think he should hold back on being the foremost expert in Guyana on what we're going to get and how Guyanese are going to be benefiting. To move on to other things. This is from Alan Bannister of S&P Global Platons. Echoed that he's echoing a warning more recently, pointing to natural depletion of conventional oil production. It still makes up the vast majority of global supplies, on the order of 3 to 4% per year. We've not really seen the effect of that. Basically, they're looking at, conventional, well, unconventional, but if you look at it now, there is the drive for hydro projects and the green economy drive and how that affects oil. That is something that has to be looked at. that affects oil prices. The minister said, and this is him, it is expected that ExxonMobil will initially invest $4.5 million. That is for the Liz 1 well. Now, that will be giving somewhere in the vicinity of 100,000 barrels a day when it's max production. I'm asking myself, what is 4.5 billion US dollars spent on? Are we going to know what ExxonMobil spent the money on? Are they just going to say, well, we spent this kind of money because they're making projections they will spend? What is it spent on? Are the things that this is spent on, in light of us having to pay for it, do we own it? Do the citizens of Guyana own the drilling equipment and everything else that ExxonMobil took our oil money and buy? Do we own it? That is why we got to see the contract and see what's going on. The other thing is, in general, oil bosses around the world, see more pain in the oil prices. This is some of the headlines. Our capacity to deliver oil is on a daily production of about 100,000 barrels per day, which would be equivalent to $5.2 million a day. That's $52 a barrel. And that is going to roughly work out to 1.1 billion Guyana dollars. Right? Now, it will take us, for just $4.5 million, it'll take us 2 years and a few months to pay off the $4.4 million, notwithstanding the fact that we're looking to get some profits in the meantime between it. The minister needs to explain that to some extent. Let's get an understanding. Where are we getting the money from? What is the percentage? And that is the importance of having the contract for persons in the industry, persons in who deals with accountabilities of these things, the auditors and everybody else, to look at these things and figure out, are we getting bang for our buck? So those are some questions has to be posed to the ministers. Major issue that most I've noticed is not coming up in the headlines of all the other news agencies is the impending garbage crisis that we have in Georgetown. Let me read some headlines for you from past years. Garbage woes continue to plague Georgetown residents. This is from 2011, August. This was in Cartier News. Garbage woes continues. That was August in the Chronicle. And over 200 mini dumps in city as garbage woes mount. This was in 2010. It's becoming a reoccurring event with the Mayor and City Council of Georgetown. And my take on it, one of the points I've been making from the get-go with City Council's actions as it relates to parking meters and their management methods is making City Council accountable. One of the reasons for me jumping on the change wagon, I call it as a wagon, a few wheels have fallen off by now, so I don't know if it's a cart by now. But the reason for me jumping onto the change wagon is the assumption that this government would have come and made City Council accountable, something that the previous administration was incapable of doing because of how our politics is set up. City Council has been predominantly PNC controlled for most of the years. I don't know. Presently, it is 17 PNC affiliated councillors, 2 PPP councillors, and AFC councillors, it's made up that way. But the overwhelming majority of councillors are PNC affiliated. And you would expect that the council used to be having problems, these garbage woes that they're having now, these problems they're having with contractors, or the inability to pay their bills to contractors, has been going on for a number of years. And City Council's claims in the past were the previous administration is trying to stifle it and control them and not allow them to do their job, siphon them from getting funds. I'm asking the question, what happens now? 2 years, local government elections, a shuffling of the administration, not much of a new administration. The mayor isn't new to the city council. Oscar Clark isn't. You know, these people are prehistoric to the city council. And the powers that be are in support of them. Or you would assume, because persons who run the city council sit on the central exec of the PNC. How can they get their act together? I'll tell you why they can't get their act together. This government swore to the fact that they would make everyone accountable. Recently there was an audit, or the request by City Council for an audit, and they looked at the movable stuff that City Council has. And they haven't reached, or I don't know if it's been suspended, when it comes to the accountability of City Council's finances. I haven't heard back anything about that audit, where it's going. And that is one of the problems with City Councils. If you give your wife money and you don't ask her what she's doing with it, how she plans to spend it, she does what she wants to do with it and asks for more. And that is the problem we're having in City Council. One of the most corrupt organizations in this country has to be held accountable. It is now obvious what's their game. With the previous administration, they're trying to stifle them. It looked that way to me. What they were saying, it was plausible. Now, I think differently. You have an administration that is supportive of you, and you're still screwing up. City Council is not wholly and solely to blame. They are businesses in this country, big businesses in Georgetown, that don't pay the relevant or the suited amount of rates and taxes for the properties that they have. Funny enough, when you research how this has happened, City Council has played a part in turning a blind eye to them. If every business was paying the requisite amount of rates and taxes, City Council would be funded enough to be able to do their job. But that is not the case. City Council is looking for businesses to pay for garbage disposal. Small, medium, and large businesses, as I would have stated before, 5,000, 8,000, 12,000 respectively. How do we know what is small, what is large, what is a medium-sized business? How do they decide that? It was decided by the finance committee that this is needed, and they're going through it. This government, the president of this country, has to hold City Council accountable for their finances spent. City Council should have been negotiating with their contractors in light of the relationship they've had for a number of years, and ensure that we don't reach the stage. There are piles of garbage all around Georgetown, as you'll see here. I only Thursday got this video of women pushing what would be industrial bins, taking the garbage from people's bins on the road, throw it out on the road because they're incapable of heisting the bins because of their weight. into those industrial bins and they throw it out on the road. As you can see here, they dump it on the road and then they pick it up. This was happening outside, somewhere outside in the Rhines on Robb Street. Now, I also witnessed a case of this being done by two gentlemen on King and Robb Street. And I asked them where they're going with this rubbish. They had to push that bin all the way to Border Market to get it dumped in Orange Rock and then push all the way back. These are scenes, these scenes that you're seeing here are from what I have witnessed on Tuesday and Wednesday in Georgetown. I must say, Thursday morning, I went to Water Street that the night before was a garbage heap in the vicinity of Enterprise Car Park, and it was clean, and you'd see rubbish bin trucks going down London Street, about to approach America Street, that was trying to grapple with the garbage situation. But it's obvious from what I've seen, City Council is incapable of dealing with the problem they have gotten themselves into. And at some point then you gotta negotiate. You've been having a relationship with persons, contractors over a number of years. You give them a bit of money. This, if you go back to the headlines, you'll see. The MNCC owes 75 million to the garbage collectors and has so far paid 12 million since the collectors suspended their service on June the 21st. This is since 2010. So them and these guys have had this back and forth. They don't have money, they pay some money, they make some arrangement. This is from Chronicle 2011. Once again, Georgetown has been plunged into garbage woes as two contracted garbage disposal companies have withdrawn their services owing to lack of payments by City Hall. This seems to be a regular pattern every year, with withdrawals happening at least twice a year, and of course the reason for their repetitive problem is the financial woes of City Hall. So it's a case where it's been going on. It doesn't need to go down this road, but the main problem is City Council being